When we got together for our last episode called Quilting the Quilt, when we were quilting the Learn to Quilt quilt that we've been working on for 2 seasons now, after a while I realized that you were not able to see all the designs I was quilting. I promised you at the end of that episode that we would get back together and I would do the quilting designs on some simple fabric so you could see what I'm quilting. So we're going to start with the rail fence block. I just drew it with black marker and I started the design up in the corner and have continued on. And so now I'm going to go into this next section of that block. When I'm doing something like this, I'll on purpose make curvy lines. It makes the quilting design more interesting, but it also means that if you try to do a straight line and it's not straight, people are going to notice. They're going to say, I think she was trying to do a straight line. But if instead you do a curvy line on purpose, you'll never know if you actually make a mistake. So when you're looking at the block now on the quilt, you'll see the design that I quilted on the quilt that we were working on. This is a very simple design. I recommend that you start with this design on the quilt. This quilting design is the quilting design I'm going to use in the sampler blocks. The sampler blocks in the Learning to Quilt quilt are the ones that we made that had the half square triangles and flying geese. So I have drawn up a really simple block here that has half square triangles and just some simple squares, and I'm going to talk you through this. So I always start in a corner, and the idea is start in the corner and then come into the quilt about 1/4 inch. And then stop. This is one of those designs that has really nice stopping points. You can stop at any point and not have to worry. You can do all your adjusting that you need to do. Now there's a diagonal line, so I'm going to quilt up that diagonal line and back down. Again, I come about 1/4 inch away from the straight line, go to the point, and come on back down. Now I'm going to quilt this long design, and I call this Essing, where I'll go on this side of the line, then back to the other side, and then back again, kind of creating an S. Generally speaking, you want to try to be about 1/4 inch away from the line. When you get to the point, you're just going to come right on back again. Now I'm at the edge of the block, go into the next section, do that long line again. This diagonal line, go down and back. Around the edge of the quilt. Now I'm going to do the horizontal lines. I'm sorry, the vertical lines. Last diagonal here. And I'm done with the entire block, covering all the areas. Now the block in the quilt is more complicated. There's more diagonals to it, and that can be really fun to try and figure out how to do the entire block without stopping. In the paper piecing section of the quilt, we made a little tulip. So I've drawn the tulip a little bit larger here, but I want to show you how I will quilt that. I like it because this is a tulip. I want to give it kind of a flower feel, so the design I'm doing, to me, looks a little bit more like a leaf. I'm going to start down here in the corner. And again, just like with the other one, always doing curved lines so you're not required to stay straight. And just go from one leaf to the next leaf. Now, I would actually do this with two different colors. So on your quilt, you might have one color at the bottom and then another color into this leaf. So you could do it with 2 or 3 different colors if you wanted to. One last leaf. Then into the middle, I like to end with a little swirl tip on it. And you'll see in the block that I made in the quilt that I actually did a little bit of stippling in the gray background. But that's going to make that block really very nice on your quilt. Now here's my idea for the flying geese section. So with the flying geese, I'm going to do the same kind of idea as I did on the sampler block, running it along the straight edge but coming in 1/4 of an inch. But instead of doing that on both sides, on the inside of the flying goose, I just want to add a little other design. So I'm going to do a few of these and do a different design in each one. So I'm going to start down in the corner, and I'll start with the kind of sampler block quilting where I go up and down about 1/4 of an inch from the edge and come back. And then go right into the next block. Don't worry about that last little seam there. We'll come back for that one. Now that we have a few of them quilted in this manner, when you get to the end of this block, you're going to come all the way back down, quilting that last final seam. And then stop your thread. Now you might want to get another color of thread to do this, but I'm going to take and do a couple of leaf designs and maybe some swirl designs in here. Start with a leaf. And then come with a curved line up to the top. This time I'll do a swirl. I just like swirls. They're fun to do. Ooh, I just thought of something. Maybe I would do a leaf in one and a swirl in the next, and then a leaf in the next one and the swirl in the next. I like that idea. I didn't think of that when I was doing the quilt. So now when you're looking at the quilt, what I did, you'll see I just did leaves. Wish I thought about the swirl design back when I was quilting it. In this quilt, I think there's 5 different chances to do border designs. So I'm going to take you through a couple of them and give you some design choices. So this is going to represent one of the narrow borders in the quilt. And if you'll remember, when I was doing the meandering design, I did the one that kind of looked like puzzle pieces. That done in a border looks a little bit more like ribbon candy. And it fills the border really nice. And you're just going back and forth, keeping your speed as consistent as possible. This is also a really good one to practice on. If you can do this and get a really good stitch length, I feel confident you'll be able to do most of your free motion quilting. So I thought it'd be fun to do a couple of other designs. So here's one I like for skinny borders, doing continuous swirls. Come back to the swirl. And another option is the little E's, which are just like elongated swirls, or loop-de-loos rather. And again, this is a really good one to practice your smoothness and your timing, to be sure that you're not going faster and slower as you're pulling it and pushing it away from you. So those are some designs for narrow borders. On the quilt, you'll see in the blue section, I did just the aliens or the ribbon candy in the blue section. Now this is a design that I'll do in a little bit of a wider border, and it's my free motion feathers. With this feather technique, I'm not going down a long section and then coming back. I actually am going to continue all the way down the border, doing the right side, then the left side, then the right side, then the left side. So it's very continuous. And I'll show you the curved feather, and then I'll show you a pointy feather. So you're going to start here and start with the teardrop, then go to the left side. Same idea as the teardrop. Now come back to the right-hand side, making those feathers have some good curve to them. Now I'll switch up to do the pointy feathers. So with these, the idea of the point is what gives it some style. So be sure that when you come up here to the point, that you make it a little bit of a curve at the tip and make it get really narrow at the point. You can make them be fatter feathers or skinnier feathers. And this again is another one of those that when you're practicing it, the idea is for your stitch length to be consistent. So you want to push it and pull it at the same speed. And I like to end it with a swirl. Just like that. Now in the quilt, I don't think that you can really see what I did. I tried to use an orange thread to make it stand out, but I don't think it actually did. Trust me, it's a beautiful feather. This will be the last quilting details that I show you, and this will be for the large border. So in this quilt, it's about a 6-inch border. So I'm going to do some of my favorite designs, some of the swirls with points. The reason I chose this for the quilt that we did is I picked a very busy fabric for the border print, which means you're not going to be able to see it anyhow. So I'm just going to do a design that I like to do. So I'm going to go swirls with points. I'm not going to finish it because I really could continue to do this the whole time. I hope you enjoyed watching the details of the quilting as much as I enjoyed showing you. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. We wouldn't want you to miss a single show. Please share us with your friends and leave a comment. We would really love to hear from you.